this is the part of the presentation where hopefully we keep you awake, but we just want to give you a sense of the detail. So it's not just about, let me back up. So creating a great place, doing creative placemaking with all of you also means that we've got to get crunching numbers. We've got to really look at how you're going to be able to turn the tap in the morning and have a warm shower and flush the toilet with soap and just, you know, lead a healthy and active life. And so moving around the site is really important. So we're going to go through these pieces.
Thanks, Bob. And, you know, so as far as the vehicular circulation, that's one element, and we have a slide coming up to talk about kind of the bikes and the pets too, but we want to make sure that the system worked for all users, of course. We do user cars, we do want to walk, we do want to bike, but we want to make sure that whatever we design here, in here, successfully interfaces here with Copeland. So Bob described a little bit about how Copeland would be re-envisioned with a landscape median, with bike lanes, fairly significant sidewalk. About how wide, like 25 feet?
25 to 30
coming off
feet.
here. But really looking at how are we going to get in and out of the site. So you have two signals here, one at River Bend, one at Causeway. Those would be the safe and efficient places to get in and out of the site. So we wanted to make sure that we tied into the existing signals. Equally important, we want to make sure that we have north-south connectivity. So if you want to get from one end to the other end, you have roads to help you do that. And this here would be kind of developed as a parkway to allow you to get up, and then also into the site along this kind of parkway facility. Just to really make sure you can get in and around without always having to rely on Copeland.
And I think the other thing that what this lets you know is that there's not just one kind of street. We understand that, you know, as the neighborhood builds out and as we kind of move through our daily lives, we have some roads that are running, you know, actually 4 street types plus some carriageways and lanes that would be part of this system. And you'll see some other drawings that kind of describe.
Yeah, and one other thing, you know, we generally like to look at grids. Our grid street systems are things that work really well. We kind of looked at that in here, but we wanted to make something that kind of utilized the grid, yet also, I think, fit into kind of more the natural layout of the land. So you'll kind of see a little bit of a grid, but it's a little bit more of a modified that really fits nicely in with this particular site.
So as we look at a modified Copeland, you know, here in this area we're about 20 feet wide in sidewalk with some trees. We've got a bike lane, and what we're suggesting is that parking be brought to that side of the street, so it starts to feel more like a real downtown street. And you know, here's our apartment buildings or stacked flats. We repurpose that median, get it to be wider, and start treating stormwater in it. It allows us to do some native and natural planting in there. 2 lanes in both directions. Then this also serves for some turn laning. And again, that 6-foot shoulder bike lane on the other side. And rather than have just brick pavers running along the side of the street, we really think bringing in some more green, getting some street trees, so we really start to try to close this and green this up.
Do you want to talk about the significance of kind of this?
So part of this, you know, variable width, as we understand it in terms of parades and other public activities that happen in the community. There's a place for people to gather there when that's happening. And in other places where we've got this up to about 30 feet wide, again, it's that issue of living on the street, getting eyes on it, and humanizing it so that it really starts to feel like part of the community and becomes an address for you. And that really is the signature, I think, of the Avenue District. Here is our typical local street that also has shared travelway for bicycles. Understanding that people want to get to and from in this town, not just being in their automobile. You've got a great bike culture, and we think this new neighborhood can really support that. And, you know, again, with sidewalks, we would be using curb extensions that would have some rain garden plantings in them. In this case, you know, here's the trail, the ecotone. This really starts to create that parkway look and parkway feel as you move into the native area that Steve was just describing. So these would put cars in bays and then sharing the road with cyclists. We probably would have narrowed up the street section a little more if we thought all the cyclists would stay on the trail. But we know that if you're getting on a bike to go to work, you know, you want to be on the street and you want to be moving with traffic. So this recognizes that kind of lifestyle. Front yards along this parkway are really going to vary, and part of that is solar exposure and how you're going to use your front yard. But they'd be a little bit deeper here than they might be on the other streets. So our typical two-way street with parking on both sides would be a 10-foot drive lane, our suggestion. And we'll basically have, again, a sidewalk and a narrower yard that might be about 15 feet. So that plays that way. And again, get some decorative lighting on it and landscape. And then our last street type right now is running basically along the green fingers. And that's a one-way system, one-way north, one-way south. And that kind of runs along these areas.
All right, so as far as the bigger picture in the sidewalk, talk in pretty detail about having the sidewalks and the sharrows where the bikes and the vehicles can share. But we also want to connect into the lacrosse trail, the Three Rivers Trail, getting the connection in through here. Blue Trails here out on the water. I've heard some people talking about some possible retail here, looking at kind of the ecotourism outfitter type of thing. But looking at the Blue Trails as well. But the whole system here really incorporates recreational biking, or just walking, but also functional cycling to get you out on Copeland, that we would hope one day would have bike lanes to get you to the downtown, to your place of employment.
And enhanced transit stop. Utilities, again, how it works. The site is easily served by, in this case, water service coming off of Copeland with a loop system. We're recommending that lower voltage power line get buried. City's done that quite successfully. That really starts to open up views and make this feel much more like a real habitat for our feathered and finned friends. And the same thing goes with the sewer. There seems to be capacity. We'd be tying into the current system, and since all of this would be new infrastructure, again, we're working closely in our next phase with city staff to make sure that that's all done purposefully. But I think the real vision here is to minimize infrastructure, and Tom will talk more about that with the light imprint system that he's developed, that we'll be also placing on there that works quite well with Steve and Doug's frameworks. This is for Tom and Mary.